It's 6:30, October 27th, 2025, and I'd like to call to order the Shenandoah County School Board work session. The first thing I'd like to do is ask for a motion to approve the agenda as it has been presented.
Move to approve the agenda as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Gutschall. A second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Rickard. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None opposed? And so we will move right into work session, and I'm going to begin with information on major capital projects. Dr. Shepard.
Thank you. Well, there we go. Derek brings up the presentation. At the first school infrastructure planning committee, which is 2 members of the Board of Supervisors, 2 members of the school board, the county administrator and myself, the discussion really centered around the school division, and the school board needs to communicate the needs of the school to the board of supervisors. At the last infrastructure meeting, which was this past week, we heard from Davenport, Ted Cole from Davenport, who is the county's financial advisor. And in front of you, you will have the presentation from Davenport, and there are some extra copies up there if anyone would like them. The presentation from Davenport that talked about the current financial status of the county, which included current capital debt and current major capital debt, and then really the county's borrowing power, if you will. And then also handed out was this sheet here that was putting a penny into perspective, and it talks about how a 1 cent increase in tax revenue would in taxes in the tax rate would actually generate $600,000 in revenue. And then at the bottom of the sheet, you will notice that in 2026, the estimated average assessed home value is about $250,000, and it shows there that a penny increase would actually amount to about $25 a year additional tax income from a person, or a 5-cent increase, you know, it would be $125 per year, or $10.42 per month. So just wanted to point these 2 documents out, and you can take them home and read them at your leisure, and if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. But that was the second school infrastructure committee meeting, and at that meeting, we heard from the 2 representatives from the Board of Supervisors that what they're looking for is really what is it that the school board would like to do. And in the next few slides, you will see that I've listed a few things, a few of the things that we've talked about over the last couple of months. They would like to see where it's going, what's going to be done, and a plan for the implementation. So once we decide as a school board, once you decide as a school board what you want to have done, then I can actually work on the 3 things that the committee is asking for. Where is it going to be located? What's going to be done in the plan for implementation? So over the last several months to a year, we've actually had two separate considerations. We have the elementary school considerations, and we have the triplet tech considerations. And these are in no particular order, so but this is how we'll go through them in this presentation. We've talked about a new elementary school. We've talked about renovations and or additions of Sandy Hook Elementary School, of W.W. Robinson Elementary School, and of Ashby Lee Elementary School. So I'll share some information with you in this presentation about those 4 things. And then also we've talked about triplet tech considerations. Do we do a new career and technical facility, or do we renovate the existing triplet tech, or do we do a combination of both? So, and at the end of this presentation, that's when we'll have a conversation about what you're interested in seeing happen. But please ask questions along the way. So new elementary school, Sandy Hook Elementary School, building capacity is 858 students. We have 829 students currently enrolled, which is about 97% capacity. You can see the space constraints include that the reading specialists, special ed teachers, and counselors share space. And then students receiving tutoring and extra support do that in the hallways due to the limited space. Lunch starts around 10:45. And then students receive library, art, music, and technology once every 7 days due to the space that's available for those programs. And then the traffic flow, the campus has a single entry and an exit point, causing congestion during morning drop-off and afternoon pickup. Very similar at W.W. Robinson, their capacity is a little larger at 1,147 students. Their current enrollment is 1,046 students. They're at 92% capacity. Again, the space constraints are very similar. Cafeteria schedule is very similar. You look at their specials rotation and they receive library, art, music, technology once every 8 days. And the traffic flow during morning drop-off and afternoon pickup is also very congested. When you look at our enrollment over the last 12, 13 years, you see that there was a decline in enrollment, and in 2021, 2022, you actually 22, 23, in 2022, 2023 is the lowest, and we've had an uptick in the 2 years since. And we have unofficial numbers for this year for fall enrollment, and there's a slight uptick. It's not large, but there's a slight uptick from last year to this year. But then you see the housing developments that could impact student enrollment. In Strasburg, there are 320 homes on the books, and each home brings about half a student. So if those 320 homes actually come to are built, then we'll have approximately 145 students added to our northern campus schools. In Woodstock, you see 873 homes, which would bring approximately 400 students to our central campus. And then Edinburgh, the 30 homes that are slated for Edinburgh would bring about 14 students to our central campus. So that is all of the information I have currently with our new school. If we have a new school, the thought would be that we would take about 200 to 300 students from Sandy Hook Elementary School, 200 to 300 students from W.W. Robinson, which would leave them about 600 to 700 students, and would create a new elementary school with about 600 to 700 students. So all 4 of our elementary schools, including Ashby Lee, would be about 700 student schools, 700 to 750 student schools. So this is similar information that we just heard. If we think about Sandy Hook Elementary School renovation and/or expansion, again, we just went over this information a minute ago. But some information from the RRMM facility study for Sandy Hook indicates that the school is in poor to fair condition. And these are just some statements that were cut and paste directly from the RRMM study. And then here's the overall condition. So you can see that there are 7 items in the overall, in the RRMM study that actually are listed as poor. And those include ADA compliance, code compliance for safety and security, roof systems, mechanical systems, assessment, electrical systems, and then plumbing and food service down at the bottom. You'll see 2 areas that were fair, or 3 areas that were fair. Architectural assessment, going down to the bottom, hazardous materials assessment, and then exterior and interior architectural assessment. And then you'll see 3 items that were good. So they're civil, they're the roadway leading into Sandy Hook Elementary School, their structural assessment, and their fire protection system. And here are just some pictures of some of the things that were in the study. The top thing is the canopy. EFS is deteriorating. The bottom left picture is just the casework, the cabinetry that's in the classrooms. The top right is the water infiltration from the roof to the ceilings. And then the bottom right is the roof. And then one other, you'll see the chilled water pump. The lower left is the rusted exposed steel lintels, and then the ceramic wainscoting in the upper right, and the lower right is just an HVAC system. And you'll see the condition there. So when we look at W.W. Robinson Elementary School, very similar to what we saw earlier. And again, something that was taken straight from the RRMM study. I'll just give you a minute to glance through it. And the second bullet point is about roofs, and then the third bullet point is about heating and cooling.
That last slide you had pulled up with the pictures,
Mm-hmm.
the one on the bottom right,
Mm-hmm.
how long has that been on the maintenance plan? Do you know? Because that's been like that for quite a while.
Mm-hmm. So our HVAC, are you talking about the capital improvement plan? Our HVAC
I
systems
mean,
have
our
been
maintenance
on.
staff should be able to address some of that in-house, I would assume.
The condition of the unit is poor because of its age, not necessarily, what is necessarily wrong with it, so.
Oh, I was just speaking of the electrical and the piping.
Mhm. Yeah. So for Robinson, you'll see where, they have 3 items in the overall condition of poor, 8 in fair, and 2 in good. And then here are just some of the areas that need improvement. Now, this is a date and time, so they went to take these pictures one day, and some of this stuff has been repaired since. But some of the stuff like the cabinetry, which is in the lower right-hand corner, that's just what the building has installed.
Can we go back to the slide that had the good, fair?
Mm-hmm.
Do we know what the problem is with the fire protection system in that building? I mean, that's something that we should be getting on right away.
So the fire protection system is fair to good, and I know that at Sandy Hook, that was replaced just within the last few years, and that's why it was in good. So the fire protection system has to be replaced every so often.
Do we know when the last one was installed? It's not building original, is it?
No, not building original, and no, I don't know when the last time it was replaced. I'd have to look in the assessment. And then Ashby Lee. While we haven't spent a lot of time talking about Ashby Lee, it was very similar. It was built in 1975, and it is 80,000 square feet. The building capacity is 771 students, and it has 701. So they're at 91% capacity. And if you remember, W.W. Robinson was at 92%. I think it was 92% capacity. So very similar to our other two schools, our reading specialists, special ed teachers, and counselors share space. And students receive library, art, music, and technology once every 6 days. And then here are maybe here's just some things from the Ashby Lee RRMM assessment. And you'll see in that second bullet, the second sentence, the EPDM ballasted roof appears original to portions of the original building constructed in 1973, which is approximately 51 years old. And then you'll see the overall condition is rated 5 are in poor, 7 are fair, and then 1 is good.
Melody, I have a quick question. Because when we're looking at the capacity, those numbers are different from the last time we met. Is that because they've been updated with new numbers, or?
So you're talking about the where it has 771 students?
Where it says like Robinson is now at 92% capacity and Ashby at 91%.
Yeah.
Those are higher than.
Yeah,
yeah.
because the numbers are this year's
Okay,
numbers.
okay. And
Yep.
related to that, how do those numbers compare to the estimates that we had? You know, like we have projected numbers of students that were gonna be here. How have those been comparing in terms of, have they been pretty accurate or are the estimates underestimating how many students we're getting?
So I think at least our enrollment estimates over the last couple of years have been pretty accurate.
Okay.
You know, within a few students. And we anticipate will grow slightly over the next couple of years, but then we'll maybe level out.
Okay.
Without factoring in buildings.
Well, and that's what I was wondering, because of the building and all that. I
Yeah.
mean, because.
Because
like,
we can't make a guess to
Right,
that.
and
We have
that's
to
what
go
I
over
was-
historical information.
So, and that's what I was wondering, once we're looking at the actual numbers, it seems like this one's came higher, like we're more at capacity than we thought we were, even a month ago.
Yes. We have new student numbers now.
Yeah,
So, and
okay.
even though they're unofficial, they're very close to what it's going to be.
Okay.
And here are just a few pictures of Ashby Lee. Paving replacement, again, water infiltration, typical casework in a classroom. The roof, hot water pump, another roof picture, and then boiler. So any questions about the elementary schools before we move on to Triplet Tech?
Actually, I missed it. What was the actual capacity for Sandy Hook right now?
97%.
It was still 97? Okay. So that one stayed the same.
And
Okay.
Sandy Hook, out of all 3 of our elementary schools, it was built in 1970. I didn't mention that, but yeah, it's at 97%.
All right, got it.
And WW was 1976, and Ashby Lee's 1975. And while there have been additions, there has been no major renovation of any of the 3 elementary schools. All right, so Triplet Tech. So Triplet Tech was built in 1966. This is the bottom bullet point, and has not undergone any major renovations in more than 50 years. There was a small addition in 1975 and another small addition in the 80s, but other than that, there's been no major renovations of Triplet Tech. And you can see that the facility condition is rated either very poor to poor condition. And again, these are just, little excerpts from the RRMM study that was done last year. And you can see some of the limitations of Triplet Tech. It's has insufficient electrical capacity. The small classroom size restricts the number of students that can be in each class. And so the outdated infrastructure cannot adequately support the current program. So one of the examples is in culinary class. They're often flipping breakers because of the electrical load that is required to run the tools in culinary. And you'll see the, the second major bulleted point down there, the program demand and access. This year we had 102 students that were not accepted into their first choice. I do not know how many actually were turned away from Triplet Tech, but I do know for the 24-25 year, 86 students were not accepted into their first choice, but 75 students were not accepted at Triplet Tech at all because there were no programs to that they wanted to participate in, or there was no slots available for them. And then in the 23-24 year, it was 55 students. So if we had additional space, what would we do with that additional space? Some of the programs that our students are interested in and our community are welding, diesel mechanics, plumbing, drone flight, unmanned aircraft systems, engineering, just to name a few. There are others, but these are some of the most interested programs. And then here's the facility assessment for Triplet. You have 8 in the poor, 4 in fair, none in good, and none in excellent. So most of the systems are either poor or fair.
It's alarming about the fire protection system, and I believe it was 3 of the last 4 buildings we've looked at. I mean, that right there is alarming. That should be taken care of regardless of what we're doing with the buildings. Those all should be in the good category.
Especially Triplet. It has like all this different electrical and mechanic and all kinds.
Exactly.
So when you look at, here are just a few pictures. It's very similar to what you saw earlier. Oh, sorry. Derek, will you put that back on? I went too many slides. So I return to the very first slide at the very end of this so that we can talk about what we want to do. So, and I do want to mention at Triplet Tech, we have, if we added a new career and technical facility, we have a private partner who has said that she is interested in donating $5 million to that cause. While she would prefer it to be in the central campus, that's a conversation that we can have, but she has said that she would prefer for it to be in the central campus. So one of the thoughts with the Triplet Tech considerations, do we renovate Triplet Tech and have some programs there, and then do we build a new facility in the Woodstock area, or do we renovate Triplet Tech where it's at, where it's kind of landlocked? So, so what would you like to do? In elementary considerations, again, it's new elementary school or any combination of the above or the below. And one of the other things I heard from the school infrastructure committee, this isn't the whole group of board of supervisors, but it was the 2 representatives there, is that we could possibly do more than one project at a time. So if we wanted to maybe propose 2 projects, we may be able to do them simultaneously or somewhat simultaneously. So how would you like to proceed?
Are we opening it up to discussion?
Yes.
Did all the other board members receive an email today from a teacher at Triplet Tech? Could I start by reading the email that was sent to me today? I wasn't sure if everybody got it or not. That's why I asked the question. Any opposition to me sharing this? This is from Miss Amanda Robinson. She is the head of healthcare sciences at Triplet. She said, I've recently heard talk about the idea of potentially splitting Triplet into several campuses as part of the expansion and renovation plans. I'm not sure whether this is just a rumor or a serious consideration, but I feel compelled to express my deep concern about this possibility, and I can confidently say that most, if not all, of our faculty share these same feelings. From a logistical standpoint, separating Triplet into multiple campuses would be extremely difficult. Many of our staff members have roles that simply cannot be divided. For example, our administration and bookkeeper are essential to the daily operations of our school and could not feasibly split their time between multiple locations. Our student support teacher provides SPED testing accommodations for students across several programs, sometimes even on the same day. Considering the current shortage and high turnover of SPED teachers in our county, expecting one to travel between campuses would be both unreasonable and unsustainable. Our career counselor is another example. She provides dual enrollment, college admissions, scholarship, and career assistance for all students at Triplet. Her absence from any one campus would leave a noticeable gap in support. We also don't have a dedicated nurse. Instead, I serve as the first responder for our school. With my healthcare background, I'm comfortable in that role and happy to do it. But if our school were divided, I couldn't possibly be present at all campuses, which could be concerning in emergencies if others are not trained in healthcare. Beyond logistics, what makes Triplet special is our unity. We truly are a family, faculty and students alike. That was never more evident than this fall when we grieved the loss of Principal Lynn and our beloved custodian Edna Strickler, or when we came together just last week to support our colleague Richard Corpy after his home was lost in a fire. In good times and in hard times, we rally around each other because we are one community under one roof. This closeness carries into our everyday school life. Thursdays are some of my favorite days when the culinary students prepare meals for faculty. Cosmetology students get real practice by cutting our hair, while auto tech students change oil, check engine lights, or just fill our tires when we are rushing between classes. Healthcare students test the vision of their peers, and it's not unusual to see students walking around with a little extra sparkle in their hair after visiting cosmetology for fairy hair. These experiences are more than fun. They create a sense of shared purpose where every program supports and celebrates the others. It's a rare and beautiful environment that makes Triplet feel less like a school and more like a home. Splitting Triplet into separate campuses would fracture that sense of belonging and collaboration that defines who we are. It would be damaging not just to the logistics of how we function day to day, but also to the morale of our teachers and the spirit of our students. Each summer, our late Principal Lynn would send a letter to the Triplet family to welcome us back for a new school year. In his final letter this past July, he wrote, "When guests come in and say this school just feels different than the others, the kids look happy, the teachers look happy, and they are really learning here. It's because we are all in." So maybe not something new, but a reminder and recognition that we do go all in all the time, even on the hard days. We are here for our kids and for each other. That sentiment captures exactly what Triplet is all about. It's hard to imagine being all in if we are spread out and separated from one another. Most of our teachers could make more money working in our respective trades, but we stay because we love our students, our coworkers, and the sense of family that Triplet provides. Dividing our school would take away the heart of what makes it so special. I sincerely hope you'll keep this in mind when discussing the future of Triplet Tech. Please consider not just the logistics, but also the culture, unity, and human connection that make Triplet the extraordinary place that it is. Thank you so much for your time and consideration. After reading that, I ran into some faculty from Triplet as I was getting out of my vehicle in the parking lot, and it was stuff that I hadn't even thought of, like the sped testing. I mean, what do we do? I would have to guess that at least maybe one student from all of our classes that we teach at Triplet either has a IEP or a 504, which would provide them accommodations for testing, stuff like that. No matter what we do, I'm for keeping Triplet Tech under one roof. I mean, it's going to add to transportation, administration. We're trying to keep costs down, and we're just adding cost that's going to carry over year to year.
I have a countervailing point of view that I'd like to share, and that is that I fully concur that, or understand, that there's a lot of camaraderie, a lot of close feeling from being in one place and having everybody together. But as we look into the future in terms of where career and technical education is going, it's going in many, many directions. And in order to be innovative, in order to be cutting edge, in order to provide the best education for our students, we're going to have to be looking for programs that follow some of the new trends and some of the things that are quite literally the things that are going to make our students better prepared than others in other locales. And so if we have the ability to create a system that gives better healthcare education in a healthcare facility within our county, if we have a place where the electrical grid is able to provide a greater sense of, but capability for welding and other programs that need that kind of infrastructure. If we are looking at whether it's aerospace, whether we're looking at computer security, things like that, we may find that having, I don't like the term satellites, but having programs that are located at different places in the county would allow us to follow those particular programs and allow them to flourish and grow on their own. This is, and the writer of that email is quite right, is going to put a greater emphasis on, or burden on, administration and logistics from the headshed, from wherever the flag is flying. That's the headquarters of this. But if we ignore these public and private partnerships that could grow and help finance these programs and create these new innovative programs, we may be mired in the past because we're looking at something that could just be done on one campus. And I think that would limit our educational capabilities and offerings to students who are looking for, and so are we. I mean, I think as businesses and as educators and as citizens, taxpayers for this county, you know, we're looking at creating greater capabilities among our students and not having a brain drain where they go elsewhere, but where they stay here and get that kind of education. Plus, we may be in kind of a rural county, but we're also one that's large. And so the ability for everybody to get to Triplet every day for their particular course could be a defining factor when somebody takes a course or not. I've heard people on this board talk about the fact that we need to have programs that are more accessible to different parts of the county and not just one location. So, well, I'll just leave it right where it is.
Do we have any data on any other school systems that have spread out their CTE over multiple campuses or satellites?
So some of our CTE courses are already at our high schools. So like our ag programs, our business programs, marketing, family and consumer sciences are at our 3 high schools. I do not know of any other, I do not have any data.
I
Mhm.
wanted to throw it out there because, of course, it's probably not a new idea, but I can't think of any off the top of my head that split up their CTE over multiple campuses.
I did speak to another potential donor about another opportunity that may come, and they said that they funded previously a healthcare, where their healthcare classes were at a local hospital. And so that, I'm assuming, and I believe that was in Loudoun County, but I haven't spoke to anybody in Loudoun County about that and what that looked like.
We actually began some of these conversations last year when it looked like if we were going to build a new building, we would have to, over that time period it's being built, have to relocate some of our programs in the interim so that they would operate some other places. So, automobile mechanics,
You're speaking
that
as
kind of
if
thing.
we were building a new building. on a
Exactly,
trip.
exactly. But the point was, it got us thinking in the realm of public-private partnerships, where we could go to some of these businesses and see if somebody, again, it is interested in students learning auto mechanics, would be willing to host that. And that would, we realized at the time, it was very likely to give rise to innovative thought and so forth among the students actually working, in that field and with those folks for the year or two while we were having this, the school build, or at least that section of the school build. Now, I'm not saying that's why we decided, or we're thinking about building, I don't think it was, but we realized at some point, even if it's a renovation, but certainly a rebuild, we would have to, during the interim, we're gonna have to find places for these programs anyway. Because we're not, obviously, you can't keep the whole building open while the whole building's being refurbished, restored.
If we didn't build the new building on the land that we owned at Central.
Well, yeah, I mean, but even that is gonna require, while one section's being worked on, the people that go to school there, take classes there, are gonna have to either go someplace else in the building or someplace else, right?
No, if it's a new building, it wouldn't disrupt anybody.
Yeah, but where do the students go while you're building the new building?
The new building is on an empty piece of land. It's a brand-new facility.
So they stay where they are right now until we build a new one.
The kids would stay at Triplet Tech until the new building was built.
Okay, so I think we were probably thinking of if it were going to be renovated and sections are going to be closed at a time that we would use it in that case. You know what I'm saying?
I'm talking about if we were building like a brand-new.
I understand. So that means while it's being built, that 2 or 3 year period, we kind of stay as we are, right? Okay. But if we're also if we decided to restore the building, then that decision is going to require that as we restore it, just as they did with the Pentagon when they were sectioning it off, the people in those sections had to go someplace else for a while. And we were thinking of where do we send these programs? And that's one of the things we'd have to consider if we do that.
So, from my perspective, I think still my priority, number one priority is I think we need the elementary school, the new elementary school. So that's, if there was only one project, that's where I would put my vote. However, if we're gonna be able to also do the triplet, I know it's kind of difficult because there are so many different things to take into consideration. I think a lot of people have also an emotional attachment also to the building, and there's also the fact that we don't have a whole lot of money. I still think the idea of getting all the health care services into the hospital should happen. I think that would be very beneficial to the students themselves. Many even find employment afterwards. It would be also very beneficial to the people from the hospital. So I think that one we should still proceed with. Now, the question remains, do we stay where we are and renovate where Triplet is right now, or do we actually build a new building? And take into consideration if we are only gonna have one building as opposed to have the different satellites. Because I know that part of the reason we were saying, well, we'll keep some at Triplet and then build a new building, was mostly to kind of try to agree with people who have different thoughts. Some people want to keep some stuff over at Triplet where it is right now, and then some people were saying, well, we need to build a new building. But if we were only going to have one building in addition to the hospital, then my thought would be that we would have to build a new building over at Central for different reasons. One, because we would need a new facility. Given what Dennis just said, that there could be new programs in the future. We don't know what the future brings, and we could be adding new programs. We need an area that is going to be big enough so that we could actually grow the school if that came to pass in the next few years. Also, I think it would be a lot more central, both for the northern campus and the central campus, and then the southern campus can actually just convey in that. It would help alleviate a lot of the problems even with the logistics, because it would be right next to the hospital. So even if we had the hospital arm of it, the different satellite, it would be just a couple of minutes away from the central campus. So I don't think that would be much of a problem to have some of the staff go from one to the other. So from my perspective, if the choice was that we only should have one building itself, then my vote would probably go to just develop a new building at the central campus. However, if there's a way that we can work it out, that it makes more sense to just separate it and have some of the ones that we have right now at Triplet, like the auto mechanics or all that kind of stuff that we already have that already set up in there, and then have some of the other cosmetology, all those over at the central campus in a building that could grow, because we don't have to make the building as big if we keep it up, split up like that. Then that's something that I think we should consider. I just don't know, like you said, just bringing all that up, all that stuff up is stuff I hadn't really thought about. I don't know if it's really a problem that we have. How would we address those issues that this teacher brought up? So, that's the reason why I thought the satellites would work out. But if it's something that logistically it would be really, really hard, then if we had to do just one building, then my vote would be just to do the brand new building at the central campus.
I'm getting the stare down look.
Want to hear from each
All right.
member of the
I find myself in concurrence with Ms. Carlinio. The new elementary school, because of what it does for the benefit of two schools. And I'll have to mention the traffic on Holiday. Wow, is that ever something? And also the part about the healthcare curriculum, students, the hospital, and adjoining area. As far as Triplet goes, I appreciate what the lady sent, and those were things I had not thought about. I don't want to say that. I think we could manage 2 triplets or 2 technical schools. When you look at the renovation of Triplet Tech, as you mentioned, you would have to acquire additional land to make it a go, and you may have to make and we have land. We have land in Woodstock. And as far as keeping the costs down, having the land and using it, and certainly adjustments can be made in people's schedule as far as administration and IEPs, special ed, and so forth. So I'm largely in concurrence with what you said, Ms. Carlinio.
I think obviously there's a need for Triplet and also the elementary school. Logistically, I think triplet is where the biggest unknown is right now. You know, I hate to have it pulled from the southern campus because I know that's been a mainstay there. I also realize that there's benefits to it being at the central campus for one reason or another. I think if we had to have a new building, you know, thinking for a new building, it's hard to imagine a new facility at its current location. I'd like to see it, but I just can't see it. And I think that makes it difficult trying to move forward and build it. Like it's been said, we don't have any land there at the moment. And then even trying to expand on it. We know that, you know, the vocational world is always changing. It's always improving, getting better. There's always, you know, things that change and you have to adjust to that. And I think if we build it to a point where you're kind of maxed out, then what do you do? So I think leaving options available for the next, let's say this thing, if it were to get built in 5 years, leaving it, you know, room for the next 20 years in case you want to expand on new discoveries or new improvements out there. So I'm very supportive of triplet. You know, I see a lot of positives in it. I think as of right now, if it had to be one building, it would probably be at the central campus for me. You know, what we have to consider with this whole thing is we're talking about building a new elementary school or building a new triplet, but then you also have to remember, what about the buildings we have? You know, those aren't just going to magically go from poor to great. So then you're talking about not just 2 projects, you're talking about 4 or 5 projects. So I think that's something we also need to remember. You know, we can snap our fingers and build a new school, but you know, W.W. Robinson's still going to have roof issues or whatever. Sandy Hook's still going to have issues. So just want to keep that in mind. But, you know, the position that we're in, and I think especially over the last 4 years, we've tried to be good stewards of the taxpayer's dollar, even though we're not in that position. I think a lot of school boards out there, they just kind of think just we want everything. And we want, you know, no matter what, we want everything. And I think we've given a good, realistic look on things over the last 2 to 4 years on what do we actually need. Superintendent, when she creates her budget, it's, I mean, it's what we need. It's not a bunch of fluff and extra stuff to it. So I think we can go to the Board of Supervisors, them knowing that we've put forth an effort to, you know, request what we really need. And obviously there's a need for some improvements in elementary school and a triplet and current issues that we have that are getting worse by the day. So when we put this request forward to them, we, you know, I think we put what we think we need, and then it comes down to their decision on how to move forward with that. So it's not an easy, you know, I think we can brainstorm on this, but ultimately there's just so many moving pieces and considerations you have to make for something this significant. But just to finish up here, one triplet I think would be ideal, and then the question would be, well, what do you do with the current building, because it needs to remain an educational facility. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So that's something else we have to think about. We can't just, you know, we need to utilize that space if we were to build elsewhere. And then on the elementary side, you know, it's tough to imagine just, you know, thinking through the logistics, it's tough to imagine just renovating or expanding the elementary schools, and then that's kind of it, because there's still the other issues that you have, traffic and cafeteria and probably many other things. So it's kind of, you know, I'd love to be able to just renovate it and expand it and be done with them, but it seems like that's kind of a tough challenge to just wish for that, without possibly having to build elsewhere, which there's other land on the Maury Town area that could possibly be utilized at some point. So, yeah, those are my thoughts.
Thank you. Tom?
I guess I kind of see it as three projects. And I kind of get the new school thing. How did they do it at Sandy Hook when they had like almost 200 students more 10 years ago, 2012? How did they do the cafeteria? How did they get around the cafeteria and the
It was
traffic? And
very similar. They had, but remember, they had those modular units there
yeah,
for.
I know that. That's why at first I was like, you can add on to Sandy Hook and cover those problems, but then you got the cafeteria. You know, there is, you know, when I was down there twice, there is room to add on to it, but but I kind of see, you know, you still have the cafeteria space problem and some other problems, but then I also understand that it's also a big help to WW if there is a elementary school. And how much land is in the Murraytown area?
So that property is owned by the county, and while I've suggested that we may, want to use that space, I'm gonna say 300 acres, but I don't know how much of it will be available for school.
So I kind of see, you're killing two birds with one stone there with that ideal. And I also see, and I understand the lady's email, without a doubt, there is, being the unity of one place is a lot better. I get it. So, I understand that theory and would love to see it stay where it is. Triplet Tech is Triplet Tech. Obviously, we know that we're constrained to kind of landlocked, and things would have to change there to expand. And I'm really big about, I get a little irritated with our government. We can't just expand for today. We have to expand, 30 years from now, or 20 or 30. We have to expand for the future. And another thing is, if we utilize our land here at the Central Campus, I'm also concerned, is that land, which is, I'm glad we have it, but if we utilize that land, are we shooting ourselves in the foot because that land is supposed to be used for any of the other schools, WW or any of the schools there? Are we using that land that we're shooting ourselves in the foot for down the road for schools? I mean, I don't know. What's the theory on that?
So that land was purchased, let's say 15 years ago, 2009. A little over 15 years ago. And I don't know that it had a purpose other than, the land connects to our central campus, so we can use it for future expansion. Very similar to the land behind Sandy Hook Elementary School. I think it was to be used for future educational purposes.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, if we use that land for CTE, 10 years, 15 years, are we going to be like, well, we can't expand any of the other three schools or anything, schools, because we've used that for CET? Is that going to come back to, all I'm saying is that going to come back to haunt us, that's all.
Well, just to make sure we're on the same page, am I correct? We have 40 acres at the
40
central campus.
40 acres.
We're only talking about using 20 for new CTE.
So half of it.
Right.
I think when that land was purchased at the Sandy Hook area in the Central Campus, there was some suggestion, strong suggestion, that, and I don't know the correct title here, grades 5 and 6, like a feeder school to alleviate crowding at those two sites because of the projected growth. And that was one of the reasons that the school board and the superintendent pushed the purchase of the Stickley property, and I guess that was the Gokenauer property out here. But that was 2009 thinking.
I think it was 2009.
That's close enough.
So, and I'm off, I'm not one that, I don't believe in kicking the can down the road, yet at the same time, we need to really analyze our problems and our future problems and make sure we're doing the right thing, with the board of supervisors and everybody, that makes sure we do the right thing, you know, even though I don't want to kick the can down the road, we have to do something. But I want to make sure we analyze and look at all viewpoints and make sure we do the right thing. But we do have to we got to figure it out. And if to alleviate the pressure at Sandy Hook and WW, we have to do something with Triplet Tech. I think that's just you know, you saw the numbers up there earlier, and you know, that is definitely a big part of the futures of the trades. And obviously your slide there that shows the things in poor, and I noticed the blocks there that's on the line, that looks like something I would do, you know, could be poor, could be good. But we have to address those, and I think from another resource, I think our facilities are a little bit worse shape than what we thought. So those are the three, I have to admit, those are the three things that I'm interested in entertaining and looking at, and we have to figure it out, you know.
Well, we all have students, or I mean, we don't have students. Let me rephrase.
Okay, yeah, you want to tell you something you want to tell us, Larry?
We represent people as a county. Ms. Carlenio, you have constituents that go to all 10 schools.
Every school.
All of them. But it's just been my observation, Mr. Street, that Triplet, aside from this feels different and the camaraderie and the sense of family, that Triplet kind of has it's like the community takes a lot of pride in having Triplet. And I guess that goes back to the gentleman who donated the land and the good citizen that he was. Maybe you could comment on that. If my observation's wrong, it won't be the first time today I've been wrong, but go ahead.
I'm proud, I hope, well, how old do you think I am, Larry?
Oh, about 39.
I don't know. I mean, obviously the community has a pride, you know, in that school. But I don't know the history of how it started.
Well, the point I was trying to make is the two schools that the south end of the county would have a school that, I don't want to say they own it or they have it, they just have a sense of identity to it, maybe a loyalty to it. Or am I wrong?
Who
Well-
has a loyalty to it?
I think it's more of a community thing than a school thing. I mean, but we see it as a county. I mean, we see it as a county. It's for all the county students, not just, you know, the south end county
Right.
students.
But
So,
it bears the name Triplet.
Triplet.
It doesn't bear the name Frank Stover, who was legendary on the north end. It's Triplet. And maybe my observation is wrong, but I just sense that intuitively,
Well, sure.
So are you saying
which
that,
makes the case for not abandoning the existing school, is what I'm saying.
so are you saying that the name Triplet couldn't move to a new school? At a new
Couldn't
campus?
or shouldn't.
I don't know, because I get the feeling, I've talked to a lot of staff from Triplet, and I have a feeling that the name Triplet isn't the building, it's the people and the family inside, and if you were to move those people and that family to another facility, it would still be Triplet. That's my belief from talking to the staff and the students. I don't think the building has any bearing on it.
Yeah, so I'd like to, I think this is an interesting discussion. I think that the trades that we have taken under the rubric of Triplet have flourished in that part of the county for a reason, because I think that's part of the county that actually engages in most of those trades. Not overwhelmingly, but to a large extent. And that the pride has grown up geographically, also demographically, because of those trades and so forth. So I think that there is an identity that goes to community, but also goes to function. And I think that those two things together create, if you will, a tradition. And so I personally think that's something that needs to be at least considered. if not a determinant. So I think there's something to it. My particular point of view is that, well, I want to talk a little bit about the ratings on the schools a little bit too here. I'm not at all suggesting anything nasty about RRMM, except that they intended to get quite a bit of business from what their estimates came up with. After all, their job is to go in and renovate and build new schools. And so things were, you know, fair to poor and poor to fair and fair to poor and poor to fair. Okay, and maybe that's all true. The pictures, you know, are obviously proof. You could go around my house and take a few pictures of my eaves and so forth, might be a problem as well. I may not want you to see them, but I don't think, you know, my house would be poor to fair. And that's where, like, Triplet came. And as we have a lot of affairs that go on at Triplet, a lot of meetings and so forth, where people come in and say, gee, this place doesn't look so bad, looks pretty good. And so, you know, abandoning a school that is still, as a building, pretty functional, may not make a lot of sense to our taxpayers, especially since it is performing a function that I think we consider, I'll use the word vital to our county. And so I'd be careful before I would kind of dismantle that. But as I said earlier, I really think we ignore more technical and more, I hate to use the word, but, you know, cutting edge, modern stuff that's coming along, and we have to think about where we're going to put those programs, and how, and also, by the way, how to fund those programs. They don't come under the major building thing, so there's something else we're going to have to fund. So when we find these, we're going to have a few shekels left that we can actually put these programs, you know, in some building, wherever that building is. So, I go back to the point where Triplet is a functioning, good school that has done its job well, can continue to do that, but we have to look, use Mr. Street's concept here, look into the future for where other programs are going to be located. Is there room in that building? Are the capabilities in that building? Or do we need to look out now at either another center to put them in or public-private partnerships that are going to help us build those? Now, that's one side of what I have to say. The other side I haven't talked about yet, which is the elementary schools. And I think Kyle makes a really strong point when we say, if we build a new Maurytown Elementary School, it doesn't mean the problems at Sandy Hook, WW, or Ashby are all solved. They're still there. And so now we have problem, and a new school that we're going to build. And everybody isn't, all the elementary school teachers are not going to wind up teaching at the new Maurytown Elementary. That's not the way it's going to work. Plus, we're going to open a 10th campus, if you will, which means new roads, new access, new infrastructure, all of which is going to cost money, and we have to have a new staff, which is going to be a sunk cost every year. And so those are things we have to take a look at. So those things are part of what is going to increase the financial burden of having done that. Plus, once upon a time, and I don't know what year it was, Dr. Shepard, but I know that there was a plan made by previous school boards, or it's a school board, I suppose, to enlarge the three extant elementary schools. And I haven't heard anybody yet talk about maybe taking that plan and bringing it forward to fruition, whereby we actually enlarge those schools so that they have the room inside for the students and for the programs they want to. That doesn't take away things like congestion on the roads. So that's like none of these things we're talking about are things that are like problem-free. You know, it's still going to raise, you know, some of those other problems. But I will have to say, I never ever, you know, as somebody's been in education all his life, I'd hate to say, gee, I find elementary school education more important than technical training, or vice versa. I don't want to be put in that trick box, because I think that either point of view is basically wrong. And we have to do the best we can to maximize both. But I will say, we only have one CTE program. And it's hitting the point where that program has got to flourish and follow kind of these modern paradigms that we really have to follow. Even if it is new, we need to be the ones out there blazing that trail. But at the same time, and I was struck by some of your questions, Mike. I think a lot of things elementary schools that we saw pictures of are things we could fix without having to build a new school. We can enlarge it, we could renovate those, without having to put a new school building in Morrietown. Much as that would be really cool, I don't think it solves our problem. So.
If I can say something, because right now, the reason I'm supporting the idea of a new school is not because I think it's neat or cool, it's because we have Sandy Hook at 97% capacity, we have Robinson at 92% capacity, we have Ashby Lee at 91% capacity, and we're talking about massive elementary schools that we have right now. This school should not be that big to begin with. We're talking about Robinson has capacity of almost 1,200 students. That's a lot of students in an elementary school. And what we've been hearing a lot over the last year from a lot of the people, mostly from Sandy Hook, is that there's no space, and that they're sharing space, and that they don't have enough classroom space. We have in all these schools students having lunch at 10:45 in the morning. That's just ridiculous. They can't even have enough of their extracurricular classes because there's no space, there's no time. So adding on to that, making them larger is not going to fix the problem of the traffic, obviously. It's not going to fix the problem of the lunches, unless we're creating another cafeteria as well. It's not solving a lot of the problems that we already have here. Yes, like Kyle said, we do have to still fix things, and again, is part of the problem is some of this stuff has been kicked down the road, so we need to start, paying attention to them right now. These are really old schools. 1970, 1975, 1976. So it's not a matter of cool, it's a matter of we are growing. Like I asked Dr. Shepard before, this capacity, the percentages went up a couple of percentage points from the last time we met a month ago. So obviously we are growing, we are getting a lot more construction around here. And we hear from a lot of teachers who are really unhappy about this. So I think that's why I put the elementary school as a priority, because this is not something that we have that is an option. I love Triplet Tech. I think it's a great program. I think we need to invest into it. I think we need to take it seriously. But at the end of the day, that is more of an option that we're offering our kids, whereas going to elementary school is not really an option, unless we want our teachers to leave, unless we want our kids to go homeschool or go to the private schools that we don't have. So that's why I thought the elementary school was still a priority. Obviously, we're going to have to deal with some of the stuff that we need to fix in the old schools. With regards to Triplet, again, this is just taking all this into consideration was the reason why I originally supported the idea of having the campus in Mount Jackson, and then the other one here, and that way preserving that building, having a new building that could potentially grow as new programs come along. If that's not feasible, then that's why I thought that maybe we should do the central one. That building is not going to go empty. I think we have plenty of things that we can put in there. We could put the governor's school back in there, which would allow the southern campus some breathing room as it grows as well. Because right now we're talking Ashby Lee's 91%. So maybe some of those students can go back to Dolly Robinson. I don't know how we're going to do that. But obviously the southern campus is also reaching, it's not at the critical point that the other ones are, but they're getting there as well. So I don't think that space is going to be wasted. I think we're going to find ways to use it for something else that will be educational. So again, if we could do it in separate satellites, I thought that would help, keep some of the people in the southern campus happy, and then also be looking into the future. Because also at the end of the day, it's interesting what you were saying about the emotional attachment that the southern campus has to Triplet, but it's kind of like a chicken and egg problem? I mean, is it because more people go there because it's in the southern campus, or is it because it is on the southern campus and our northern campus students, a lot of them are discouraged from going, on a bus for 45 minutes every day? So, it could be, I think, that if we had it in a more central location, that more people from the northern campus or central campus would take advantage of the triplet. And I would keep the name triplet. I just think it's been used for so long, and it's what it is. I think it's the essence of the school. So again, these are just, looking forward in the future, how we need to grow, the people who are moving in here, how we already have massive schools that are really big and that are really old and that are really having a lot of issues. That's why I still think we need to focus on the elementary school. And then the question becomes with triplet, what do we do? Do we split it up? Or do we just go for one campus, one or the other? I just don't see in the southern campus, I mean, unfortunately, I know again that I didn't go there, so I'll take the attachment that people have to that school. I take it seriously. But again, it's very limited space to grow. Even if we are able to buy the additional land, which we don't have, it's giving us very small area to grow in the future. And it's also going to be very cumbersome to renovate, because then we go back to the problem that Dennis originally mentioned, that if you're renovating, then where do you put those students? So you have to move around as you're trying to renovate an old building like that. So, so again, that's why I thought splitting it up would help out. But if not, I would still be on the central, moving the whole thing to central then.
I'd just like to go back and clarify, reading that email about triplet, I was trying to get the information out there. I don't want that to be misconstrued as my priority is triplet tech. My priority is the new elementary school. In order to properly renovate either W.W. Robinson or Sandy Hook, the only way to properly do it is to move students out of there into a new school, give the construction the time that it needs to properly renovate. Now, I'm saying there are issues right now that need to be fixed over the summertime, over the wintertime, when the kids aren't in the building. But the only way we're going to properly renovate any of our elementary schools is to alleviate the 90-some% population in the building and be able to consolidate students to 2/3 of the building or even a half of the building while the other half is being reconstructed. The triplet tech, I mean, you guys know where I stand on that. The funny thing is we're hearing the information everybody's assuming because it's on the southern end that Stonewall is somehow tied to it. This year there's less students from Stonewall going there than there are from the other two campuses. Granted, I believe I was told that's the first year that this has happened, but there's less of a less attachment there than what we all thought.
That kind of points to the fact that students from the northern campus do want to go there.
Oh, they do. There's parents that won't let their kids go there because they'll miss instructional time at their home school. And due to the bus rescheduling, I don't know whether it happened last year or 2 years ago, now the northern end kids that are going to triplet, they're getting a 10-minute lunch when they get back to the high school. So they're missing out on lunch. The teachers will tell you they're missing out on about 10 minutes of instructional time first thing in the morning because they're getting there late. So that equates out to almost an hour of instructional time per week.
That's
But
the students going from the
Going from Strasburg
down to Triplet.
down to triplet. I mean, if we're going to do two at the same time, I'm for the new triplet at Central, the new elementary school. If we only have to pick one or can only pick one, we got to go with the new elementary school. That's where our priority should be. I love triplet. I want to see it expand. Heck, I want to see it so that it's ready for the next 50 years. Talking to the teachers aren't opposed to moving to the Central campus. Something to do with the existing triplet tech. Have we thought about adult education classes and bringing in revenue to have adult education there in the evening time.
So while we haven't thought a lot about what we would do with triplet if we vacated it, because we don't know that that's, available yet, our maintenance and transportation could move there. It could serve many, Governor's School could move there. It could serve many functions.
So my priority is the new elementary school. I mean, you go through our elementary schools and see the dire situation that they're in. To me, that's a no-brainer. I would love for a new triplet tech, but we got to take care of our elementary schools first.
Anybody else? All right. We'll move on to item 2.2.
Actually, so when do we have to make this decision by? I'm sorry.
So we'll put on the November 12th meeting,
Okay.
we'll put an action item on there. Yeah.
At our meeting this past week, I proposed that we have that meeting with them as soon as possible. Was there a date?
We have not set a date yet.
Well, we proposed sometime in mid-November.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we would need a decision from our board to take to them, hopefully mid-November, because I don't want us dragging our feet on this. We need to get moving.
Also, Dr. Shepherd, it's going to be an interesting exercise to come up with an action item,
Yes.
because there are a lot of permutations
Somewhere, an action
to
item.
this. So I'm with Mike on trying to get a little bit more, I don't know, clarity, this is a good word, on this before, as we try to come up with what would be an action item. So I don't know if we can, I mean, we can just have debate that evening and come up with one, or there can be some, but if that's, but did you say that was what date?
I'm going to say November the 12th. It's a Wednesday.
But I'm on the assumption
November 12th.
we're still trying to figure out what all the options are.
Well, that's what I'm saying. There are a lot of variables in
Yeah.
this mix.
Well, you talked to all of us. Do you have the consensus that we can just narrow it down to that?
So what I think I've heard, I could be wrong, is there are definitely 3 for a new elementary school, but I'm still unclear about the other 3. And some school board members are interested in having more of a satellite type or academies, and some have mentioned here that they would like to have a new triplet tech at the center, at the central campus. So I've heard both. And I think it's really going to have to be 2 separate motions, so that we can get, because if you tie the 2 together, I don't think it's going to be clear.
So maybe do the vote on elementary first and then move on to the triplet.
Do you disagree?
I would like to see, again, somewhere in there, the option to proceed with the planned enlargement of the 3 elementary schools. So, if you can,
How many
I
people
don't know
want
if I
that?
feel, are we talking about voting? I don't feel comfortable voting on anything.
So before we can move forward with what the Board of Supervisors wants us to do, we have to have clarity on what the school board is interested in doing. And we, while we had option C back in March, which said new triplet, what did it,
It said a
new elementary school?
New triplet, new elementary school in the same year, and then it had the renovation of the 3 elementary schools in the years that followed.
after that. So now we need real consensus on what the, or I don't even know if it needs to be consensus. We need there to be clarity on what the school board is interested in doing. Because before we're able to apply for any construction grants, we have to be shovel ready. And there's no way to be shovel ready unless we have committed to what projects we want to have done. So what would help you decide which program, which option you would prefer? What information do you need?
Well, you put it, it's actually a lot simpler if you just say, what would we like to see?
Mm-hmm.
That kind of changes things a little bit. You said option C was a elementary school, something done with Triple Tech, and then
The renovations of the
Renovation.
3 elementary schools. Mm-hmm.
after that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They, kind of in general, that's, I'm still, that's still, like I said earlier, I think all three things had to be done. We had to figure it out, we had to figure out how to do it. So, I don't know, otherwise we're just kicking the can down the road.
The Board of Supervisors wants to know where we need the majority for big CIP projects, where our board wants the major source of funding. Do we think the new elementary school is the priority? Do we think building a new triplet tech is the priority? Granted, Dennis Morris, who is one of the Board of Supervisors, him and I had a talk at Rockingham Co-op one day. This was just him and I. He said, Mike, keep in mind, and I heard somebody else say it here tonight, we're not opposed to doing 2 projects at one time. Now, that was Dennis speaking for himself to me. But somebody else said tonight, when Carl and Tim were at the other meeting, they've pretty much made the same statement, that they're not opposed to doing 2 projects at the same time. We have to go to them and say, this is what the majority of our board would like. And then they'll help us in figuring out where we're gonna get the funding from to do it. But as long as we keep just talking about it, there's no clarity for them to help make a decision on where we're gonna get the funding from, how much funding we can get, and what we're gonna do.
Yeah, and that's why, I just want to make sure we discuss it enough to really look at every angle and new elementary school, the logistics, does that work out with busing? Does that work? And I can see easing the tension, the pressure off, 2 schools, not just Sandy Hook, but really got my attention. I guess I have to admit, you realize it, and the more you talk about things and think about things, you kind of see a different angle. And I understand, it also helps WW, and I also understand probably we all know it's not a good thing to increase elementary schools. If anything, we should decrease. If we're looking out for the kid, what's best for the kids. So, I get that. And then, like I said before, triplet tech deal, I would love to see where it is, but we really have to analyze what's best for the kids, what's best for the taxpayers, what's best for the next 20, not just now, but the next 20, 30 years. I just want to make sure we really look at that.
When if you really think, if you really think about the age of our schools, it's not 20 or 30 years, it's 50 to 60 years, this facility is going to be around.
I like your thinking.
Mhm.
Instead of
Yeah.
30, let's think about 50 or 60.
Because our elementary schools are 50 some years old, 54, 1970, yeah, 55.
It's hard to come up with a set of priorities when we don't have really much of an idea of cost.
Well,
And we've
see,
been
I was
talking,
never maybe I'm wrong, under the interpretation that they wanted our priorities, or a number 1 priority, quote unquote. I thought that they were wanting what do you need? Meaning you can put triplet and elementary as number 1, comma, and there's another thing. So that's just how I've interpreted it. And again, at the end of the day, we can ask for anything we want. We aren't the ones that have to worry about the financial impacts of that. It's good that we do because it shows that we care about the financial aspects of things. But, you know, I would much rather, I'd be more inclined at that meeting to be able to say, I support this versus this is my top priority, and then put something else below it. I'm not big on that, but because at the end of the day, they get to pick anyways. We could say both of them and they get to pick. So that could be our priority, and it gets over there, and that priority means nothing because of the financial or logistical outlook on it. So that's just a thought on how we could, I don't know, try to word that.
No, I totally agree with you, Kyle, and that's the way I take it. What do you need?
Yeah.
Not a priority. And this is what we need, you know, so this is what we need. But what also I want to send along with that is, I don't want to send a list of, oh yeah, this is what we need, you know, all of this. No, I want to send a list of the reality. This is what we need realistically, and also this is why we need it, and this is our view, and this is what we see now, this is what we see in the future. In other words, reasons to back up, you know, what we need.
And I think we have a good enough relationship with them that they know that
Yeah.
what we're asking for, like I said earlier, is what we need versus a wish list.
And
I
Ms.
think we need to keep in mind, though, correct me if I'm wrong, the fire chief, the sheriff, the library, they go to the county with their specific needs and priorities, correct?
That's correct.
So I think we need to do the same. Tell them, we need a new elementary school, if that's what the majority of us want. That is our priority, so it's clear. I mean, they told us in the first meeting we had, we really don't know what you clearly want, and it was like Dr. Shepherd does a pretty good job come budget season of making sure our CIP is pretty clear in what we need, what's urgent, what's necessary. But they don't see it. They want priorities,
That's why I say we need to also, along with that, say why.
right?
I'd like to follow up on Mr. Rickard's comments and something I heard on that side of the room. At the risk of being a devil's advocate or just a plain devil, I'm capable of either one. How is what we're discussing here tonight any different than the option C that we handed off back in the spring? And at least 1/3 of the Board of Supervisors either weren't paying attention or deny its existence. Floor is open for discussion.
I'd like to put a second on Larry's question.
Well, true.
But I think that's why we need to be more empathetic. That's why we need to say, this is our priority. We really need this, and these are the reasons why. I mean, that's,
I guess one argument you can make there is we say new elementary school and that's it. And they're going to say, well, where do you want a new elementary school? But yes, we did approve that back months and months ago. So it should be something that can be viewed as a data point or as, I guess, as a request, really. But again, I think we got to be able to say we want a new elementary school in Morristown, Virginia on this land. We want Triplet Tech on, I mean, we didn't have any of that on, and there was really no room for that. I don't think it was intended to have all that detail, but it was definitely, you could argue, a baseline of a plan to try to move forward. So, yeah.
Option C listed priorities with the elementary school first, then the renovation of Triplet second, and as you noted,
It listed a timeline of proposed beginning.
yes. And the estimated cost, I think, was part of that document.
The estimated cost or deferred maintenance. So the new elementary school was estimated at a new build price. It excluded any land purchase. It was just construction cost at $41 million. Triplet Tech had an estimated deferred major maintenance of $18.2 million. That does not speak to expansion. It does not speak to rebuild. I think when Mr. Lynn gave those presentations, we were looking at $60 million. Sandy Hook, and these are 2023, 2024 numbers, had an estimated deferred maintenance of $33.7 million. Ashby Lee had an estimated deferred maintenance of $30.9 million, and WW had an estimated deferred maintenance of $46.9 million. Now, these schools are different sizes than what was proposed for the new elementary school. It's feasible to say that that $41 million elementary school is comparable to Ashby Lee, which has deferred maintenance of $30.9 million.
So just to fix what we have,
Just to fix what we have, it is almost as much to build the new.
yeah, and see, that's where I think we have a bigger issue is just to fix what we have is $100 and something million.
And that does not expand. That just catches up on deferred maintenance.
I think if we go into it looking at the big picture, it's not our fault that our schools haven't been properly maintained. We just happen to be the elected officials on the board at this time. I think we need to start chipping away at those. We're not going to do all the renovations at the same time. It's not even practical while we're still providing a quality education. You cannot properly renovate any of those 3 schools while kids and staff are still in them.
One of the things that I heard the 2 board members who were on the school infrastructure planning committee say is that they would like to increase our operating capital so that we knew that we were getting $5 million a year. Now, of course, the whole board of supervisors are going to need to agree to do that. And some of the things that we could do with that $5 million of operating capital each year is we could really plan for when the roof replacements are going to happen, and we could really plan for when the HVAC systems are going to be replaced. Whereas now, not knowing how much money we're going to get from year to year, it's always difficult to plan exactly. While we may have 50 things on our CIP, if we knew we were going to get $5 million each year, we could plan what that $5 million we're going to go for. And then next year we could say, and then here's what's for fiscal year 27, and here's where fiscal year 28 comes in, and here's 29. Now, some of those things in fiscal year 29 may drop off or something become more important that's in fiscal year 30, but at least we would be able to plan for that $5 million if we knew that's what we were going to get for operating capital every single year, which that's not been. The current Board of Supervisors has done a nice job of funding our CIP, but not necessarily at the level that we have requested. But they've given us millions of dollars every year instead of nothing or hundreds of thousands. So
That's what I mean about chipping away at.
Those renovation numbers, is that just to fix what?
That's
is
just a
gonna be-
fix.
So you mean tell me those schools, it'll take $30-40 million just to fix something that's about ready to break?
That's what our RMM told us.
This is the same company also, yeah, we've
I was
been
gonna
down this
say,
road.
Keep in mind what Dennis said earlier.
They said it cost $70 million and went to the next guy, came out to be $40 million.
Right. I
I mean,
believe.
there's things that need to be fixed, don't get me wrong. I just
I believe.
kind of question
if
those
we had-
numbers.
If we had the expansion of the new elementary schools and could strategically move kids within the space we have, we could properly knock those 3 renovations out fairly quickly and in a lot less money than what we
You're
were
saying
given by
renovation. Do you
RRMM.
mean maintenance or like
Renovation,
so a full?
Maintenance,
Yeah.
yeah, not addition, but renovation.
right,
yeah.
just renovation,
Yeah.
And not be disruptive on the kids.
right.
Because I think what's also is those numbers that you put up on the future housing. That's something that probably can't ignore. That the the community has to understand that those, I don't know how you're going to ignore those numbers. It looks like, I'm at the fairgrounds, looks like there's already some construction going on across the other side of the interstate
Oh, every week it
on
seems
the
like
steep
there's a new
hillside.
one.
I've seen construction at the Strasburg area and also in the Woodstock area. I don't know that I've seen anything in Edinburgh, but I haven't paid as much attention.
And not only the projections for the future, but the existence of the now. The information you shared about when lunches are served, when they can have art, when they can have music, the shared space. It's not just the housing that's going to be developed here and there. It's the now. It's the now.
And the school is not gonna be built for another
It's not going to be
4 or
built
5
tomorrow.
years. Yeah, so it's gonna be a lot more built between now and then.
Y'all should just go to Sandy Hook during business hours. You really should. I've been there.
But if you're gonna go during the business hours, make sure you stay for when the students are discharged. Go out there and look at Holiday Street and the
I was gonna
traffic.
stay, but I wanted to beat the traffic.
And make sure you're in the traffic at 7:45 in the morning. Just make sure.
Sandy Hook or W.W. Robinson, either one.
And there again, W.W. Robinson, just something to think about. If we were to put the new triplet tech there, it would help them with 2 ways in, 2 ways out.
Sandy Hook is one way and one way.
Yep. There's no putting
Wasn't me. I
it,
didn't design it.
there's no putting another bridge across that river.
Are you the one that makes the presentation to the board of supervisors what we need?
I will.
You want a 20-minute, a 40-minute, or an hour presentation? What do you need?
If we are clear on what we want, it could be a 10-minute presentation, because I think they understand the need.
Yeah, but I understand kind of jokingly, but in all honesty, if I'm on the board of supervisors, I want to know not just I understand what you need, but tell me why you need it. I'd be more impressed when you show me why you need it, and you haven't,
Well, that's my dilemma at the moment. Because 20 minutes ago, we were talking about all the different moving pieces on this and how hard it's going to be to come up with something that would be a set of alternatives from which we're to select. Now, we tend to be like one thing. This is what we want, nothing else. I mean, of course I know we're going to want other things, but the only thing that we feel bidden to present is, I want this big enchilada. That's what I want. I want that. I don't feel comfortable doing that. I think that puts it.
I thought that's what they wanted from us.
Well, that's my question. My question is, what guidance do we have from the Board of Supervisors who, now I know we gave them option C, which was, I think, developed in April. When did we develop that?
It was presented throughout the fall last year, and this board voted on it March 13th.
Okay, so we're talking early in the winter, we developed this, okay. And so I know all 6 members of the school board has been discussing this with members of the Board of Supervisors and members of the community since then. And so our process should have been iterative. We should have been picking up tidbits along the way of what's going to work, what won't work, what's in, dollars, cents, a lot of things that have been discussed tonight are things that we've heard and we've discussed with others. So when they handed us back that saying, hey, tell us what you want, I did not, and I'm not sure what we have in writing that said, but my assumption, bad on me, I guess, wasn't that they wanted the one thing, but that they wanted a plan. They wanted a set of priorities that they wanted to see that we were taking seriously. And in terms of priorities, maybe some idea of magnitude of the cost or the benefits of those that they would provide. I think that's what you were alluding to. So I'd be very disappointed if what we came up with was the answer is A, and that's it. And then they look at it and say, that's it? You want an elementary school, or you want a hot damn triplet? That's what you want? That's the one thing? I really thought, and I'm not trying to be cute here, I really thought that they were asking for us to come up with what we saw as a package of things we would like to accomplish in our building program over the next 20, 30 years. If I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong, and we're just going to go ahead and vote on one thing, but I don't think that's what they were asking for.
But I thought that's what we were talking about. That's what
Okay,
we've been talking
so
about
so
tonight.
what do we give them? That's what I
What
want.
our priorities are. not our one thing, but
Okay.
what are our priorities? What do we see as a board
Okay,
as major capital improvements that we need to make over the next, they didn't give a timeline, but I'm thinking what we need like tomorrow or yesterday is what they want to know. So option C was a new elementary school, a new triplet tech, and renovate those 3 elementary schools. That was option C, was it not?
right. And
That's,
I don't disagree that that is the concept that we had back then, and we have been talking and developing that. Maybe we feel that that's still the same list. Maybe we don't. Maybe if we're going to give it in priority order, I think that's what we're going to have to decide as a board. So if we decide, as a board with a consensus, that those items in that option C that we gave are still in play, that narrows our game down to that, and then deciding on kind of prioritization and maybe some sort of rationale for the selection. I think that's what they're looking for. And so if we can do that, good on us. Can we? I don't know. I mean, I guess we could come up with a,
we came up with option C, so I can't imagine we can't.
okay? But between now and then, there'll be very little time to do it, other than just talking, sharing, and then coming back in here and then looking at that straw man and deciding how we want to add any rationale to it or change the priority order.
Well, I just want to add, I mean, we have been talking about this for over a year now. So this is not like we're doing it last minute or, that we should feel rushed at all, because I feel like this is all we've been talking about since I got elected. We already have voted for that. That's why, yeah, it is a little bit odd that we had to vote on it again, because we had already kind of chosen that. But what I don't want to see is us bringing to them an option that says the new elementary, the triplet, and then the renovation, and then having the board supervisor saying, well, you didn't tell us exactly what the priority is. So that's why I was saying before that me personally, I would like to, make it known, well, my priority is, if they're only going to fund one of those 3 things, the new elementary. If you think that it's important enough, then let's do the new elementary and the triplet. The other stuff is going to have to be done regardless. But I thought that that's what they wanted from us, that they wanted to have a consensus idea. It doesn't have to be, that everybody agrees with it. But what the majority of the board wants, instead of what is your priority, is this project or that project? If we can fund them both, great. If we can only fund one, which one do you want? Do you want the elementary or do you want the triplet? So, and then if you're going to do the triplet, which one do you want? Do you want to renovate where triplet is right now, or do you want the new building at Central? So I thought that's what we were going to be voting on right now. I mean, in November. So, that's, I don't see a problem with that. I think if they're saying, if the board of supervisors is saying that they want more clarity and they want us to know exactly, they want to know exactly what we're thinking, then I don't see any problem with putting specifics into that, into what we're going to be passing over to them.
I mean, what you just said was pretty much what I heard Carl Ralston say at our very first meeting of this infrastructure board, was we are not clear on what you guys want. Okay, so at that point I had trouble biting my tongue, because I'm like, Dr. Shepard does a good job of working up our budget, our CIP, and presenting it to you guys. For you to say you don't know, we had come up with option C. And then you'll have to excuse me because I don't speak with the clarity you do, but I was at the candidate forum here recently, and Larry sat up there on stage and he said, well, they met one time, but they have yet to schedule another meeting. And
At that point.
Yeah,
At that point.
I took that to heart, because I'm on that board, and I'm like, man, it is like we're kicking the can down the road. So you can ask Dr. Shepard, this most recent meeting, I told them at that point, I said, look, we're having a work session this week. I would like to know, when can we schedule the next meeting? Because we've met with Davenport, we've heard the financial end of it from you guys. Now we can take it back to our board. I'd like to go back to them as soon as possible and say, hey, this is what we want.
And likewise, I mean, what would be really confusing to everybody, including myself, would be if at the November meeting, we just have an open-ended number of options. So personally, I would like to see kind of what we have already, you know, just kind of revote on that option C again. And then if we need to prioritize between those 3 points and then send that over, I think that would be a good starting point. So we don't have to start all over again.
I think clarity could include a new elementary school, if that's what we're thinking of, a new elementary school at or near Maurytown. You know, and it could be the Maurytown Park, but we haven't explored that opportunity yet. And then another point of clarity, renovation of Triplet Tech where it currently is, or a new Triplet Tech in Woodstock. So I think that would give them the clarity that they would need in order to move forward.
So basically, we just need to kind of reaffirm whether those are still our priorities, and then kind of vote again as to, well, do we really want well, if we already voted on the new elementary, I guess we can vote on it again. But then the real vote is going to be on the triplet, which are the two options we would want.
I don't think so.
Why not?
I don't think we can just take the list and just vote on that list up or down. I think you would just
We already
indicate,
did. Why can't we do it again?
because we were just exploring the ideas back in the winter for all this to go, and that's why we created the committee and to get information. So now we're at the decision-making process next month. So I'd like to see an action item that allows us a little bit more leverage.
Like what?
Well, you just mentioned having 3 options.
Well, that's what the option C is. That's what we're talking about.
So that's not what I just heard. So are you talking about, I'm talking to Dr. Shepherd. So does that mean that that there would be 3 options to be voted on, or that there would be one list and it would be voted up or down? And that's not fair to ask you that question.
Right.
I think it's up to the board to come to that, but I'm looking for some way we can move ahead with something that's going to work in parliamentary procedure where we get a majority vote.
Yeah, in my mind, if we were going to do action, because I don't know that all board members want a new elementary school. So I think we're going to have to vote on them individually with some more specificity. So let's just say the new elementary school. That's an easy one. New elementary school at or near Maurytown. Could be at the Maurytown Park, something like that. At the cost of approximately today's dollars, $41 million. That would give us give the Board of Supervisors a better understanding of exactly what we're looking for. But if we have to purchase property near Toms Brook or Maurytown, that may add to the cost.
And I think that methodology answers what they want and provides us the machinery by which we can do it.
Yeah. And then, the second vote would be on Triplet Tech. And, while those two may tie in priority, at least we know exactly where board members stand on each project. And then I would probably lump, the 3 renovations in together over a series of years, just because that would be the third
Okay, so
priority.
do we have a consensus among the school board members that the superintendent develop that action item for our November 12th meeting? Okay.
The only thing that I don't like the priority thing. This is what we need, and this is why.
But that's what we're going to vote on one by one.
Well, but I know the priority thing has been mentioned here quite a bit, and I'm not,
Okay.
I don't want to, now if they come back and tell us, well, we need, okay, but up front, I agree with what Kyle said. You want to know what you want to know what we need? Well, this is what we need, and this is why. And I think that's what, I'm not big on the priority thing, because I'm saying
But I think
it's
that's
too
what
much
they
of
want
it.
from
But
us.
if it's too much of it, huh?
But I think that's what they want from us. to
I
know
think they want,
exactly.
no, they want what do you, tell us what you need.
But if,
Because the problem with my experience with priorities is, one gets done, and guess what? 15 years later, 2 and 3 never got done. It's too easy.
But they already have the.
But this vote would not establish priority.
Okay, I just want, that's fine. I just don't like,
It would pick
you know,
the one that's in the lead, and then the other stuff doesn't go away. But as you say, it follows on. Well, at that, it's up to fate. I mean, other things can happen.
I'm just expressing just my opinion now, 6 of us, just one. I want to tell them this is what we need.
Yeah, I'm
I'm not-
asking if you agree with the methodology going forward.
Yeah, I'm not going to say, well, my priority is.
No, okay, but you're willing to vote on those issues as they're brought forward?
I want to tell them this is what we need and this is why.
Okay.
They
That's
already
why
have, do they already have that, Melody? I mean, do they already have what we need? And they just said, isn't that what they have? And then they just said that they wanted to know from us what the priorities are? That's my understanding. Maybe I just misunderstood. But I thought they had already that information, and that it's our job to vote and say what we think needs to be a priority.
So one of the members from the Board of Supervisors at the School Infrastructure Planning Committee said, what's the project? Where is it going? And then plans for implementation. And not what is the project, what are the projects? Because it can be more than just one.
But they already have, bless you, what our priorities are overall. I mean, they have the needs that we have, and we give them that every year. I thought the idea was that they wanted to know, well, I thought that's what Dennis Morris said at that meeting. He said, well, the problem is I have all this information, but I need to know exactly what it is that you guys need and want. I mean, it's not an easy decision. It's a really hard decision to make, but that's what we were elected to do. I mean, that's why we have to make that choice. I mean, it's not an easy choice, but that's what we were elected to do.
Okay, well, we're looking forward to your developing that
Me too.
series of projects for us to take action on our next regularly scheduled school board meeting. We're staying right with you. So we're going to talk about the dress code right now.
At each of the places, and there are additional copies, is our current dress code. And a school board member requested discussion of the dress code that is in the student code of conduct. And the school board member wanted to include considerations of adding a prohibition on students wearing tails and ears. The current dress code authorizes school administrators to make adjustments for disruptions or unsafe attire with discretion given to each school's leadership team. Items currently prohibited includes hats, hoods, full face coverings, except for religious and medical reasons, sunglasses indoors, unsafe accessories, beachwear, and so on and so forth. So it's up for discussion tonight. So Mr. Street requested this to be added. So do you want to talk about what you're interested in?
Sure. I just think that, you know, kind of looking ahead and before certain things may come an issue, I just think that we need to kind of set some foundations. And, you know, I always come back to, this is a school system. And the bottom line is, this is a school division. The environment should be a school atmosphere. You're not at home. You're not on vacation at the beach. And I just think it's that, you know, and I know some people may be unhappy, but, and also it comes back to a form of distraction. So I just think that we need to kind of set some, whether it's, we need to kind of address that what's already in our dress code. But, you know, I don't think do we allow any animals in our schools?
We do have some dogs.
Well, I mean, I'm talking about in general, not a purpose.
No.
I'm assuming that if the dogs are there for a purpose.
Yes. Therapy or.
So, you know, if we don't allow animals in general, then I know, I guess bottom line is what I'm saying is I think we need to have a policy that you shouldn't come dressed as an animal. But, I just want to stick to, this is a school system. Me personally, I think, I don't really care for students showing up in pajamas. You're not at home on the couch. I can understand maybe sweatpants. And I know that may get a little tricky, okay, distinguish between pajamas and sweatpants. That's something that I'm sure the superintendent can figure out. She's a smart lady. But no, my take is, the bottom line is, I would like to see us set some guidelines and some foundations before it becomes an issue of basically keeping in mind this is a school system, and I like to see the atmosphere stay as a school system, not home or vacation.
Is this what we have in the current?
Student code of conduct, yes.
So are you proposing amending this?
Do we have to amend it? Sure. I mean, just, I think,
I'm with you, because, I mean, I was gonna say, I don't see anywhere in here about ears and tails, and I was at North Fork's graduation the end of last school year, and there were kids running around with tails on, and I'm
See,
like,
it's ridiculous.
yeah, I think it needs to be spelled out in here if we're gonna amend this, that there's no headwear with ears on them, no tails. If our boys can't wear a baseball hat in FFA, then there shouldn't be kids running around with tails and ears on. I mean, tails and
and I would
whatever.
probably to cover things as, any animal.
You have to, because they'll
You
just
know.
come up with something else tomorrow.
Today today it may be a cat, and 5 years from now it may be a monkey. I don't know.
So, personally, I'm in agreement with this. I personally, people who I've talked to know that I'm a big proponent of actually having school uniforms, and I wish all our schools would have actual uniforms. I mean, like, private schools have it, and most of the world have them, and it would solve all these problems if we just had a school uniform. Plus, it would be a lot more economical for parents. But I know that in the minority, and most people are not ready for that yet. But the one thing that I was reading here that I'm a little bit concerned about, that I don't know if we can address it or not, is that it does say that the administrative team in each school will have the discretion regarding the code. I was hoping that once we do come up with a dress code, that it would be applicable to all the schools and not have different school systems have more discretion to allow things or not allow things than others. But that was just the only thing that I saw here that I would also like to change.
I agree with that. It should be uniform. I mean, it should be across the
Everybody.
board, not.
Yeah.
Dr. Shepherd, not to pick on our friends from Triplet, but wasn't that our building where students could still wear hats? Is that still a thing? Okay. And there was arguments for that.
The one I remember was for safety reasons, and I don't know the answer on why it's a safety. But they could wear hats because of safety.
Yeah. I know, just remember being in high school, you'd have students that have behavioral issues or struggle with something, and that would be a way of saying, hey, if you behave, you can walk around with your hat on. They were actually, utilizing sometimes as that as like a benefit. Case by case, it wasn't, a large number, but I know that happened at that point. So to me, it's not about the hats as much as the tails and all that craziness. I think, that's where we're at in 2025. It's another distraction. I think it's sad that we even have to bring this up, but it's legitimate. I mean, it's happened here before. You all have seen it. I've seen it before. But it's not a playground, it's a school, and I think you can express yourself in many ways nowadays, and you can express yourself within our guidelines here while you're at school in your outfit while still following that. So yeah, I think we need to kind of get away from as many of those kind of crazy distractions as possible.
Lisa? LV, do you have any comments?
I could say a lot of things.
Do so.
Take the litter boxes out of the restrooms, cats will run away.
Oh, no, don't say that.
Well, we don't have litter boxes.
We do not.
I know.
Thank God.
Well,
you
whatever is
clarified that.
disruptive or distracting can certainly be prohibited by the building level administrators. Whether it's anything on this list that's prohibited or what's not on this list. If it's disruptive or distracting, assert yourself. Call mama. Get her off the assembly line. Tell them to come get their son or daughter and properly dress them. So I'm in sympathy with what you said.
I'm
When you
con-
start getting specific, like you said, or somebody said, next week it'll be a different animal.
Yeah, I think if you do ears, tails, any animal-like features, that pretty well covers it. But I mean, I'm of the mindset of Gloria. I went to private school half my life. I went to public school half my life. While I didn't like wearing uniforms in private school, it made getting dressed in the morning that much easier. You didn't have to pick out anything except was I going to wear a long sleeve button-down shirt or a polo. But it was all the same colors, same color pants. Public school, I enjoyed the freedom of wearing jeans or shorts or whatever, but I'm not opposed to uniforms, but of course then you get the argument, well, our family can't afford going out and buying uniforms. I get it.
It's actually cheaper to get the uniforms, and you can have people like help out with that too, but that's a different story.
You all can lead the charge on
You know,
that.
Yeah, no, I don't see us going down that road with public school.
we're gonna be talking about, like animals and stuff. I mean, what if somebody decides to identify as a skunk? And it's gonna bring something to, don't get too close to me.
We need a broad overstatement,
So-
nothing to resemble an animal.
Just act human.
To smell, look.
And my other concern is, just in common terms, I guess, and just be blunt, I just kind of also think, I really don't know how to say this, but I think some kids are probably showing a little bit too much skin. Kind of surprised that they would let a child leave the house dressed like that. So, but you're saying that we can enforce our policy to cover that?
Supposed to in here, but I think what we have to do is, that's why I think we need to take out that sentence and say that it's gonna be countywide so that the principal doesn't have leeway.
First of all, I think Gloria's spot on that, that the administrative team in each school shall have the responsibility to carry out would be a unified policy. And then whatever the rest of that says, it's something that is not school-specific. I could understand, we still have our triplet folks here, so I do understand, let's say hats, because a lot of the guys and gals are working outside doing stuff, and they're in, the high, there's just something about the guys working outside and doing those projects that, obviously we want them to dress warmly and wear hats and so forth there, but I think inside the, classroom, I think, hats should be verboten. But, and if you can find, we're giving the poor superintendent, she's going to become a master in lexicon with trying to find all these words that fit, but finding a word for all the animals and so forth. But I think that the intent of the board is unanimous here on this. It sounds like it. And I'll conclude my comments by saying that once upon a time, I guess about a year and a half ago, Tom Street got some complaints from bus drivers, and we had a meeting of South End bus drivers. And one of their, if not their chief concern, was the I'll use my word, would be the lewd dressing of some of the students on the bus. And as I'm reading this, it says clothing that reveals undergarments. Well, there's maybe no undergarments to reveal. Clothing is see-through, revealing the midriff, which is a good attempt at that. And I'm not sure if lawyers helped draft this so that we wouldn't get in a bunch of trouble or whatever, but if we could, I'm going to go back to the common sense rule that Mr. Vance talked about. There's something, and by the way, I don't think these bus drivers were prudes either, but they did feel it's causing distractions on the bus. And And I would make the further argument that that degrades the learning environment, not only on the buses, but of course in the schools themselves. So if we could find a way to muscle up those two concepts about clothing that, and again, I don't want to go to, I mean, if you say lewd, the next question is, what do you consider lewd? You know, and I realize that whoever wrote this was trying to come up with specificity that would allow, say, you can't do that because it does such and such. So if there's any way that we could tighten up that so that it would discourage that kind of lewd display, I'd feel good about adding that as well.
Well, it also has, clothing must reach the tip of the thumb when hands are placed at the sides, arms straight with palms flat, which I don't even know if that's
Like grade.
long enough. I think that's a little bit short. So maybe it should be inches above the knee, like, you know, Catholic schools used to do. See, that's number 3.
So I'm hearing a consensus, even though Kyle has strategically left the premises for the moment. No, he's obviously made his point well. That we include this as an action item as soon as possible then, Madam Superintendent, and then if you can find the words that we've only gestured at here, that would be very helpful. And if you need further clarification from us, please don't fail to get in touch with us to try to find the right words or restrictions as you see fit, or let us know. So feel free to get in touch with us so we can have
I
an
guess
action.
we had a
Go ahead.
question about triplet tech. I guess you could ask the triplet tech division back there
Safety, I didn't want to put them on the spot.
what's the safety of the hat?
So the kids can wear hats in classrooms that it applies to safety. For example, if I'm under a car and I'm trying to shield things from coming into my face, in addition to safety glasses, the bill of a hat helps. Carpentry, electricity, all of those things where debris is something that happens frequently. They are not allowed to wear them backwards. Because that does defeat the safety purposes, and for the most part, if it is a class where that safety isn't an issue, then the students do not wear them. Like
Cybersecurity.
Networking or cybersecurity, they don't necessarily need a hat for safety.
Helpful, thank you.
Yeah. I guess we could ask Mr. Unopposed back there what he'd want to hear from the board of supervisors.
You only gotta wear a hat.
All right, we're going to move on to issue 2.3, which is dealing with school colors on sports uniforms. Chad?
We had a school board member ask if we could discuss the consistency of uniforms at schools being the primary colors of the school. So I worked with the athletic directors, and in your folder, I have for each school, Stonewall Jackson, North Fork middle schools are below, and Central, Peter Muhlenberg, and also Strasburg and Signal Knob. I have put together the varsity teams, their home jersey color, their away jersey color, and an alternate jersey color. Speaking with the athletic directors, they talked about the colors that are used outside of their primary colors, such as purple and white. At Strasburg, they may wear a black. It could be for a special game that they have, or it could be in a case where they played a soccer match and they have two dark colors back-to-back nights that they may wear an alternate color of a dark color like black instead. At Stonewall, they use the colors red, white, black, and gray. At Central, they use blue, gold, white, black, and a pink, and that's usually for cancer, supporting cancer nights. And at Strasburg, they use purple, white, black, and gray. I know there was some discussion earlier about the primary colors, in certain sports such as basketball, you would not be able to wear, like Central would not be able to wear a primary color like blue and gold because you have to wear white for home. For basketball, same way as soccer, you'd have to wear white for home. So some sports kind of dictate the color that you wear too in that. So Mr. Street asked to bring this forward, so at this point, I guess we're open to discussion. If there's anything further I can add to it, I tried to collect as much information as I could possibly get from each school so you can see by team what they're wearing.
Tom, did you want to discuss your concerns? And
Sure. I just, I just feel, and this has been something that's been in the back of my mind for many years, not just before, way before I even thought about coming on the school board. I just have a concern. I just kind of wondering where will it end when I see a lot of different colors. And I have a feeling this trends from the pros. I don't know if anybody saw the game last night, but I didn't even, what in the world was Pittsburgh wearing? I don't, maybe that's a uniform they had back in the 40s. I don't know. Did they, Mr. Barlow?
I'll ask my father.
But, and I'm not here to be the bad guy and pick on, and I know, but from kind of doing my, talking to people and this and that, there are some concerns here, and I guess I always come back to, why wouldn't you be proud to wear your colors? I know when I was handed two jerseys, a red one and a white one. And I was proud of my school colors. Don't hand me a gray one. Don't hand me a black one. I want to wear my school colors. So it always comes back to, why wouldn't you be proud to wear your school colors? Now, if the color has a purpose, I get it. So I won't touch the pink. That has a purpose, and it has a really good purpose. So I understand that. I get it. We all know it. Everybody wants to wear black because it's the bad boy color. We think we're the Oakland Raiders. Well, my answer to that is, if you want to be a bad athlete, it starts in the weight room. I don't have to wear black to, be a better athlete. But that's where it comes from. That's the bottom line. So my concern is, has uniforms become a fashion statement instead of representing your school? So that's kind of my first concern. Why wouldn't you be proud to wear your school colors? Then I move on to, and this is where, when I talk to people, this is probably the one that they do comment on, is the cost. Somebody's paying for them. So if it's the school providing them, then it's the taxpayer. And I understand there's fundraisers, but I also understand, and I'm sure it's the same on every campus, it can't be different. When you go fundraisers, it's the same pocketbook that, I'm not just using examples, that's it, so don't quote me. Whether it's a football team, whether it's a soccer team, well, then it's the FFA, then it's the drama club. Well, it's the same pocketbook that they go around to the businesses, I can tell you from experience, that they ask for money. Not a problem. The communities, whether it's Strasburg, whether it's Woodstock, whether it's Mount Jackson, Newmarket, they support their local schools and they support their needs. But then I kind of question, supporting once. I don't know, that's a concern I have. Then you move on to the Booster Club. Well, there's the Booster Club. Well, yeah, there's the Booster Club. But here again, am I in there cooking French fries to support needs, or am I in there working to support wants? So, and what I realize is, just my gut. My gut tells me that probably for every one person that likes the cool colors, the different colors, there's probably 3 or 4 that's like, that costs a lot of money. Somebody's paying for it. And why, and then also, why aren't you proud of your school colors? I get the VHSL rules. I understand that, not a problem. I understand there's a color with a purpose. If there's a purpose, I understand that. But I always come back to, where does it stop? where does it, my concern is, where does it end? And yet I have nobody has yet given me a good answer why they don't want to wear their school colors. So that's just my opinion.
Mike?
I would love to speak on this topic, but Strasburg, we bleed purple, so, I mean, we have purple, gray, and white. And then on occasion, there are black jerseys with purple writing. But I've never heard any complaints from the northern end. I guess we don't expand or get too crazy on uniforms. I mean, it's always purple, white, gray, and occasionally black with purple lettering. I haven't heard of any complaints on our end.
I spoke with Mr. Heiserman. I concur. It's twice now I've used that term, with what he said. And I'm sure you have spoken to Mr. Covage. And was he receiving complaints on, say, the black uniforms?
I'll be honest with you, I don't know if anybody's complaining. I'm just kind of, I guess I'm being proactive and kind of, you know, my concerns are being proactive. You know, I mean, I admit, I don't know where did, I know, I don't know how to say this. You know, I have to admit, even on the south end, I guess I could say it this way. I don't know why we've gotten so far away from red and white. Me personally, I think our uniforms looked the best in the 80s. They're really not. When we added that touch of black as a trim, I think that's when it did look sharp. But now when I show up to ball games, I don't know what I'm going to see.
I honestly always thought Stonewall's colors were black, red, and white. I see gray on, or I thought I saw gray on one of the sheets Chad handed us for you guys.
Gray has been used as a uniform back to early baseball time, softball time.
I got you.
Coming through, that's been a common, just like a white jersey has been a common color that's been used. So all the schools have it. Usually, like the black comes in, they may have an accent of black in it. Like they might have, I know, like speaking of Stonewall, they have red, white, and they're outlined in black.
Yeah, I mean, I always associated those three colors with Stonewall. Central, it was always blue, gold, and they wear some gray jerseys for football.
And they're awful.
But I saw,
Absolutely awful.
was there not a social media post just this past week?
They were wearing them this week, yeah,
Yeah,
they're gray and
blue lettering,
blue,
I
and you
think.
can't read the numbers or anything.
Yeah. So there were some issues, social media, people complaining about them wearing their gray uniforms for football for homecoming.
So-
I don't know, there again, we don't have any complaints, so.
I just, I have a question. I really don't see a problem with this, but, so the uniforms that they have right now, would they not be able to use them, or?
No,
or
not.
How?
Yeah,
how
I'm
would
not
it
saying
be
you need to change.
enforced?
I'm not saying you need to spend more money and change uniform. I'm saying from here on. My
Okay.
concern is here on out.
You're gonna grandfather it in, okay.
Yes. Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, don't.
Yeah.
I apologize. That's a good
Yeah.
question. I'm not saying they need to change their whole. I'm just from here. My concern would be from here on out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what you have is fine because I'm not into spending more money.
Have any comments?
No.
Okay. I have two concerns with what you raised. I mean, maybe think about this for a bit. One is, has to do with the costs, because somebody could say, you know, if those uniforms are going to cost X number of dollars more each year, and it's not going to, I don't know if anybody's made that argument yet. I'm not sure that that's even in play. In other words, I don't know enough about it to know if the red, white, and black jerseys cost more than the red and white jerseys. They likely do. I
Well,
don't
think
know,
about it, white gets dirty easier. So football, you probably don't want to have
but, yeah.
a bunch of white uniforms. Baseball, white pants. A lot of teams just wear gray pants now because you don't have to clean. It's not as hard to clean them. But and then black is viewed as a pretty sharp color when it comes to.
Well, I think black is often used as a trim for color contrast, and I think it works well with Stonewall. And I understand what Chad was saying earlier. in baseball, you had the traveling grays, you had the home whites, and with other sports, you have the same thing. So grays and whites pop up all the time, and none of those indicate, I think, any kind of extra expense or whatever. But I do remember when I was coaching and tried to get, the kids on the team wanted a sharper uniform. We were JV, didn't have very good uniforms. We went out to raise money. We heard about it from the community. We need some money for our uniforms. Oh, really? Call the superintendent. Why are your kids out raising money? So if it's not causing, if it's not causing a problem, I'm kind of okay with it. But there might be. I think you raise a germane issue because, I watch some of the teams of the college team. You got epaulets, you got gold, you got all kind of stuff going on, and that could be part of what we build into this thing, and like the bad boy team and all that other stuff. So it'd be nice if we could kind of, keep a lid on this thing, keep it from getting out of hand. But I don't see a big problem here. There's a genuine concern over budget or the escalating, and maybe there is an escalating inflation, uniform inflation. I don't. Anyway, I can just see, this year we want to wear never mind, extra stuff on uniform just gets crazy. So, I'll leave this in. Do you feel strongly enough that we take this on action as an agenda item? Is this something you wanted us to further cogitate about? What would you like to do with this issue?
Well, obviously, if the board isn't concerned about, somehow kind of, like you said, I don't know, kind of a lid on it or kind of keeping the reins so we don't get too crazy, it's up to the board, the majority, whether we kind of want to keep things within limits of your school colors or anything goes. I understand. I probably think everybody doesn't want to be like Penn State. It's blue and white and that's it, nothing else. But I understand that uniform. They want their uniforms to look sharp. I get it.
And
I don't know.
going back to the black uniforms, sometimes they're used as a motivation tool. You go out and listen, we beat this team Friday night, and you practice hard the following week, we'll let you wear those black uniforms. And hopefully you're playing the weak sisters of the poor because they're a distraction. And then the other thing about the cost, where do the gate receipts come in towards the uniforms? Do you have some idea what percent the gate receipts contribute to the uniforms?
Yeah, probably about none.
Gotta go to pay the referees.
You have to get up paying the referees and all the other athletic costs. It's no big secret. Football kind of, and basketball kind of.
Well, they're the
Carries all the
athletics, but
It depends on the school how much your gate receipts are going to support your uniforms, to the point of certain sports have better gate receipts than others. More often than not, SAF does buy the uniforms, and those are the school-raised funds, whether it's gate receipts, fundraisers, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I know last year at Strasburg, the players did a fundraiser to buy black jerseys, and they got to keep those jerseys at the end of the season. But there again, it was only if they completed the fundraiser in order to buy the jerseys.
So the students wanted it? The students wanted it, or?
The players did.
But to go back to what you're saying, Larry, incentive, maybe I was different, but I didn't want to wear a black uniform. I wanted to wear my school colors.
Our end of the county, it's purple, white, and gray, and even if it's black, it's got purple in there, and that.
Northwestern purple was 7/8 black and 1/8 purple.
But along with this, what my thinking was, if the board was interested, and it's just something for us to talk about now. And by the way, I know this may sound kind of dumb, but I really like how we've been just talking tonight. It's been nice. you know? Kind of feel like we're in Larry's living room, I don't know. But, you know, that's why, along with this was a percentage, you know, I'm just roughly thinking, throwing this out there, that if we wanted to kind of keep the reins on it or kind of keep limits, you know, 75% of your uniform need to be, or 80% need to be your school colors. That allows, you know, I'm not saying it has to be 100%, but it does allow if, I don't know, if you kind of, and maybe that doesn't make sense, I don't know. But I was thinking maybe 80% of your uniform has to be your school colors. Like, I looked it up on record. Strasburg is purple and white, and Central's royal blue and old gold. I've never heard of old gold. And somewhere along the line, Stonewall did sneak in there black. It is red, white, and black. But if,
I get your idea of the percentages, but I can also see, and I know from coaching travel teams, when you start getting into those percentages, you can contact companies that do jerseys that go, oh man, we could do a tiger stripe and make sure we meet those parameters, or we could do a leopard print, or we could do a camouflage and make sure we meet those parameters. There again, if you just set a percentage, who gets the final say in ordering these uniforms? Is it the athletic director? Is it the coaches?
For the school board.
You're leaving a whole lot open.
Can they
Good
attach
point.
a tail to the end of it?
Right, yeah. Start
Give me
putting
ideas, Kyle.
ears
Make
on the
sure
helmets.
What I was gonna ask is, does the school board have the authority to enact a resolution where it's not policy like 75 or 80%, but a resolution kinda as in support of school colors? Do they have the power to issue resolutions?
Yes, they do.
Well, maybe we could attack that with a resolution, Mr. Street, rather than get into the weeds of
Which would,
percentages and tails and stripes and leopard spots. Would that meet your concerns, you think?
Yeah, I guess, it's just whatever the board, you know, I'm just, I have my concerns, but it's,
Well, you have the concerns. I think
Yeah.
if the board is asking you to come up with a concept for a resolution, I think the ball would be in your court to work with the staff and come up with something. I don't think we should drop this one on the staff. I think this is the kind of thing that, you know, you ought to put your ideas into words and then help us come up with a resolution. We can, it doesn't have to be a finished product, but I mean, we can use that as a straw man for a resolution if you want to do that. I mean, I think that's perfectly
Oftentimes, school
permissible.
colors reflect something about the culture of the community. And it's hard to describe if it's been on Strasburg. There's a time of the year when the mountains have a purple Jimi Hendrix haze to it, you know? And that became their color. Now, in the 70s, when the King Tut display was in Washington, it was purple, gold, and white. Well, the gold faded out pretty quick, but that had something to do with Thomas Brooke. Thomas Brooke's colors was gold, and they were integrating that into the uniform, but it's not around anymore. So I'm sure the red and white has some cultural meaning in the South End.
I don't know. Because you gave me a homework assignment, Larry.
Sir?
I guess you gave me a homework assignment.
I guess I did.
But I just want to make sure, you know, it's not really what Tom wants. I just, you know, I want it to be what the board thinks, you know, not really what Tom
Well,
thinks.
I think it's a valid subject you bring up. I think if you do want to put some emphasis on it, I'm hearing the board say that if you want to put an emphasis on that and ask for a resolution to be passed, I think that'd be perfectly in order. I'm not sure that it calls for, or that a policy, or it would be hard to articulate in the past, but it's up to you as to how you like to proceed with that. Fair enough?
And while you're doing your homework, gold and blue.
Gold and blue.
Old gold.
Old gold.
Now, I have to admit, Mike, we went back to you all bleed purple. Your all's kids got me one day. Many years ago, we were actually at the fair, and it's kind of a Strasburg Stonewall thing. And I said, well, we bleed red, and I can prove it. And then that Strasburg student said, well, we bleed purple, and it's purple before it gets exposed to air.
I thought it was blue, though.
And on that note, we're moving to 2.4, the fiscal year 27 budget development calendar, and we are going to be asked to approve this at the November school board meeting. Dr. Shepherd, is there anything we should particularly know about this?
So attached are the two calendars. One is for the budget development, and the second one is for the school board meetings for calendar year 2026. So please look at those and see if they fit with your schedules.
Dennis and I are good with it.
Hard to believe we're already looking at this. This year's flown.
Okay, so seriously, so these documents have been put here for our perusal between the now and next meeting. Please become aware of them. And then we'll take a vote on those also at the November 12th school board meeting. That's the last of our work session topics. We are going to convene a closed session just a bit, but before that, we have school board member comments. If anybody would like to make school board member comments tonight, have at it.
$654.
I really don't have a whole lot. Our competition cheer team, I believe they just won districts recently, so congratulations to them. Thank you to all of our staff in the building, school board office staff. We appreciate you. That's all I got.
Thank you.
Well, as we look at the budget for 26-27, I was wondering, and I will save this for next time, and there have been references made it here this evening indirectly. What if you approached the Board of Supervisors for capital improvement funds to be set aside, let's just say February the 1st, and then we wrap up the rest of the budget and go forward? Why that is because it gives you time to plan. You know you've got your money. Like you said, what was it, 5 million maybe every year would be set aside or something like that. So you know you have the money in February, and that's just a random date. It doesn't have to be February 1st. You have the rest of the year to plan, wrap up your budget. You have time to do your paperwork, get your bids, issue your contracts and so forth. Because you know schools close the end of May, they open early August. You have 60 calendar days to do some projects. And if you wait till April, May, a lot of your contractors are already obligated. You're hesitant as you approach that deadline whether you're going to get 5 million, 4 million, 3 million. So give some thought to that, and we'll kick that around maybe next time.
Thank you.
Good idea.
Anybody else?
Pass.
Huh?
I'll pass right now. We'll save it in November.
Same
Lori?
here. I'm good.
Okay, I'm good too. All right, we have a scheduled closed session coming up. We don't need a recommendation from you for this, do we, or do we? We do? Darn, okay. Go ahead, Dr. Shepherd.
It's a short recommendation. I recommend the School Board of Shenandoah County convene a closed meeting under the Virginia Freedom of Information Act to have a briefing by staff members or consultants pertaining to actual or probable litigation where such consultation or briefing in open meeting would adversely affect the negotiating or litigating posture of Shenandoah County Public Schools under Virginia Code 2.2-3711A7.
Thank you, Dr. Shepherd. Do I have a recommendation for, or a motion?
I move that the Shenandoah County School Board convene a closed meeting under the Virginia Freedom of Information Act in order to have a briefing by staff members or consultants pertaining to actual or probable litigation, where such consultation or briefing in open meeting would adversely affect the negotiating or litigating posture of Shenandoah County Public Schools under Virginia Code 2.2-3711A7.
Thank you, Mr. Gachardo, for that motion. A second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Rickard. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None? We will reconvene in closed session. Okay, well, it's, I was gonna wait a couple of seconds till 10 o'clock, but it's 9:59, so we're gonna reconvene in open session. And so,
I move to reconvene in open
well,
session.
thank you.
Second.
Second, third.
2 seconds. Any opposed? Okay. So we will, I'll have to read the closed meeting certification. The Shenandoah County School Board hereby certifies by roll call vote that the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements by Virginia law were discussed in the closed meeting to which the certification resolution applies, and only such public business matters as were identified in the motion convening the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered by the Shenandoah County School Board. Each member responds as so certified when called. Cheryl?
Mr. Street,
I so certify.
Ms. Carlenio,
I so certify.
Mr. Gutschall,
I so certify.
Mr. Vance,
I so certify.
Mr. Ricker,
I so certify.
Mr. Barlow.
I so certify. Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I move to adjourn.
Second.
Second, third.
Second, third, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned at 10 PM. So that took us 1 minute.
Quickest thing we've done tonight.
Thank you, Kyle.
Gloria had the second.